Today we're going to unpack a really fascinating teaching from Daniel Lamptey. It's all about two profoundly different ways of knowing Jesus, and we see them through the two people who were absolutely pivotal in introducing his ministry to the world.
So let's just dive right into the central idea from Daniel Lamptey. He points out that Jesus had these two key introductions to his public ministry. One came from a man, John the Baptist, and the other from a woman, his own mother, Mary. But as Lamptey explains, the way they knew him, well, they were literally worlds apart.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll look at the two introductions, then we'll dig into John's knowledge by revelation, contrast that with Mary's knowledge by experience, see what happens when their faith gets put to the test, and finally, talk about the incredible power of that experience.
Okay, so first up, two introductions to Jesus. According to Daniel Lamptey's teaching, Jesus was presented to the world in two completely distinct ways. One was all about words, and the other was all about action.
Now, Lamptey's point here is that these weren't just any two people. They actually represent two fundamental paths to faith. One is based on hearing a divine word, a prophecy, and the other is based on living a divine reality. Let's start with John's path.
So, first we have the path of John the Baptist, and Daniel Lamptey defines his understanding of Jesus as a knowledge that came purely and totally through revelation. It's about knowing about him. So what exactly does Lamptey mean by revelation knowledge? Well, think of it this way. John knew who Jesus was because God gave him a specific sign to watch for, the Spirit coming down like a dove. But, and this is the key part Lamptey points out, on a personal level, Jesus was a stranger to him. He knew about him divinely, but he didn't really know him from everyday life.
And you can see this in everything John did, right? His whole role was to be a giant public signpost. His entire job was to point the way, to make this grand, formal announcement based on what God had revealed to him. He was the herald with a divine message. And then he says, he must increase, but I must decrease. Talk about understanding your role.
Now, let's flip the coin completely. In stark contrast, Daniel Lamptey presents Mary's path. Hers was a knowledge that was deep. It was undeniable. It was experiential. This wasn't about a sign from the heavens. This was about a life lived on earth.
For Mary, it was the total opposite. She didn't just know about Jesus, she knew him. I mean, she conceived him, she raised him, she lived with him day in and day out for 30 years. As Lamptey notes, she had almost certainly seen his power in private, long before that first famous miracle. For her, that miracle wasn't a surprise. It was an inevitability. And this chart, wow, it just lays the difference out so clearly. John's method, a public proclamation. Mary's, a private prompting. John's role was announcing an identity. This is the Son of God. Mary's was to demonstrate a power, turning a water into wine. One introduction got a few disciples to follow, the other sparked fame that spread everywhere. And this quote from Lamptey really hits it home. At that wedding, when the wine ran out, it was Mary's deep, personal, lived-it everyday knowledge that gave her the absolute confidence to push Jesus into his public ministry. She didn't just announce him, she initiated him. She just turned to the servants and said, with total certainty, whatever he tells you, just do it. So, this brings us to the really crucial question that Daniel Lamptey poses. How do these two different kinds of knowledge hold up when faced with a real crisis? I mean, when everything falls apart, which kind of faith actually endures?
Right. Which one is going to stand up when tested by true hardship and serious doubt? So let's compare their moments of trial, as highlighted in this teaching. One faced a prison cell, and the other, the ultimate heartbreak. And here's the tough part for John. According to Lamptey, because John's knowledge was based only on a sign, it was fragile. It wasn't rooted in a personal, lived relationship. So when crisis hit, when he was locked in prison and things didn't look the way he expected, that knowledge was shaken. And it led to him sending his disciples to ask Jesus, Are you really the one, or did we get this wrong?
But Mary, her faith, built on 3 decades of experience, didn't just waver, it didn't even flinch. Her deep, personal connection gave her the strength to remain steadfast through unimaginable pain, through public shame, and through the horror of watching her own son die on a cross.
And that right there leads us to the absolute core takeaway from Daniel Lamptey's teaching, the profound, lasting, and unshakable power of personal experience.
This table just wraps it all up so well. Lamptey's analysis suggests that while revelation is a powerful starting point, it's amazing. It's the personal daily walk, that experiential knowledge that forges a faith that cannot be broken by crisis. You could say revelation might get you into the race, but it's experience that actually helps you finish it.
And this is why this teaching from Daniel Lamte matters so much. It gets right to the heart of the difference between a faith that's based on something you're told, something you hear or you read about, and a faith that's built on what you know deep down in your soul because you have actually lived it.
And so, this whole teaching from Daniel Lamte really leaves us with a vital question to ask ourselves. When we think about our own path, our own beliefs, what is their foundation? Is it revelation or is it experience? Is it built on something we've only heard about or something we have truly lived?